When you acknowledge that there is always a gap and that you want to move through that gap, you start to see having and not having as two sides of the same coin. Hello, and welcome to The Joy Within, where we're eliminating negativity one thought at a time. I'm Kyle Greenfield, and I'll be your guide as we explore how to be calm, confident, and happy in our crazy modern world. Join us each week as we dive into some of the biggest ideas in spirituality and personal development. We'll learn what it takes to gain control of your own mind, master your mood, and navigate the many ups and downs along the way. Visit thejoywithin.org to get started so you can become the calm, confident, and happy person you truly deserve to be. Hello, and welcome back to the Joy Within's podcast. Today, I want to talk about how I stay motivated whenever a goal seems out of reach, or whenever I'm faced with a situation or a life circumstance that could, if you let it, easily become disheartening, or maybe even knock you down a bit. I think we've all been there at some point, and sometimes when we go through a rough patch, it can even feel like we're there almost constantly. When you want something, whatever that is, but then you get up every day and look around and it isn't there, so you're staring at the lack of it. And no matter what you try, no matter how hard you try to go get it, it just seems like life just doesn't want you to have it. It feels like you're just stuck, or moving so slowly that it feels like you'll never get there. Whenever this happens to me, I always think of this time back in college when a friend's car wouldn't start, and for whatever reason, he couldn't get a tow. So he got a group of us together, and we pushed the car a mile or so down to the mechanic. Now, this was northern Ohio in winter, so it was cold, it was snowing, and every step felt excruciatingly slow. It took us like 2 hours to walk about a mile, pushing the car. The flip side was that after we got there, my friend bought us all pizza, so in college, that's pretty much like winning the lottery. Anyway, the point is, we all have times when we feel like reaching our goals is like pushing a car through a snowstorm. It can feel miserable and make you wonder why you ever wanted the thing in the first place. And when day in and day out, you're staring at that absence, most people wallow in it. And I've been there many, many times in my life. But eventually I figured out that there's a secret switch you can flip. A simple idea that transforms that distraught, back and forth misery into motivation and excitement. That switch is your point of focus. And I think of the secret key in terms of having versus not having. Let me explain. We tend to think of having the thing, reaching the goal, manifesting the outcome, whatever that is for you, as good. After all, that's why we want it in the first place. But by assigning the label good to the having of the thing, it means we automatically assume that not having it is bad. The not having looks like lack or failure. An absence of. It's easy to default to that assumption, and the duality of it feels really natural to us. But what we often overlook is that whenever we want anything, there is always a gap. If you are growing and evolving, there will be a gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And that's a good thing. That's the whole point of having the goal. We want that gap. We crave it. Because we actually want the becoming, the process, more than we want the goal itself. But we can't see this when we focus on the not having, on the absence of our goal. When the number on the scale is 30 pounds higher than you want it to be, or when the bank balance stubbornly remains just a little too low to pay the bills, it's not realistic to try to convince ourselves that it's not. It's not realistic to delude ourselves into believing affirmations that just aren't true. But we can shift our point of focus. And that's when this idea of becoming can come into play. Because the feeling of becoming helps to pivot you from focusing on the not having to focusing on the having. Inner growth doesn't have to be difficult. You just need a plan. You need clear actions that you can take, so that whatever life throws at you, you have the ability to respond from the highest version of yourself. When you join Happiness University, you'll get that plan. with clear insights, simple actions, and expert guidance to support you every step along the way. It's free to get started, so head over to thejoywithin.org, log into Happiness University, and become the calm, confident, and happy person you truly deserve to be. When you acknowledge that there is always a gap and that you want to move through that gap, you start to see having and not having as two sides of the same coin. If we can interpret these two seemingly opposing sides as two parts of a whole, two aspects acting in union with each other, each necessary to the other, it shifts how we interpret any appearance of lack that might be staring us in the face. We can transform the apparent lack, the sense of not having, into an obvious, natural part of reaching the goal. It's part of the process. In effect, it becomes a part of our desire. If we can make that shift, it changes the game, because it lightens the way that we respond to negative circumstances. It forces us to operate from the assumption that we are achieving the goal, rather than the assumption that we are failing or stuck, just pushing a car through a snowstorm. And here's the real beauty in this approach, is when you no longer feel trapped by the apparent lack, not only do you feel more motivated and start to take more and better action that will actually bring you your goals faster, but you also start to become more present in those actions along the way. You start to appreciate them more. It's like giving yourself permission to enjoy them, so you actually start to feel happier, more fulfilled, and more successful, even before your physical world begins to change, even before you see any evidence that your goal actually is coming true. That creates a self-reinforcing positive spiral. You feel more excited, so you take more positive actions, so you see more results. Then you get even more excited, so you take more positive actions and see even more results. It's a virtuous cycle. You begin to feel the attainment of your goal, and because of that, you propel yourself towards it much, much faster than you had before. It really is an indescribable feeling. So, to help you kickstart that positive spiral, I want to share a visualization that I like to use to reinforce this union of having and not having. It's a great tool to use in meditation or whenever you're feeling calm and centered. So first, picture your goal. Then, picture your current situation and notice the gap. It's okay to sit into that for a moment or two, the having and the not having. Then, place these two mental pictures on either side of a coin. Heads, having. Tails, not having. Imagine you're holding that coin and you start to flip it over back and forth in your hand. Having, not having. Take your time and repeat this a few times slowly. Having, not having. Be sure to picture each image as clearly as you can. After a few moments, gradually speed this up, flipping the coin back and forth a little bit faster. Having, not having. Having, not having. Continue to speed it up in your mind. As you go faster and faster, notice how the two images will start to blur together a little bit. When you can't flip it any faster, imagine that you take that coin and you spin it on a table. As it spins, you can no longer see the two images separately. They blend together. They become holistic, spherical, complete. The two sides become one. Notice how that feels. Notice if there is a positive bias to that. Within wholeness is well-being, acceptance, and love. When you feel that, allow the mental image to drop away. Let the feeling remain. Take it forward with you, that belief that you are already acting out your goals. Then use that feeling to get up and go get them. Thanks for listening to today's episode. When you're ready to put these ideas to work in your own life, head over to thejoywithin.org and sign up for Happiness University. When you do, you'll have access to all of the tools and strategies you need to eliminate negative thoughts by tuning in to the Joy Within. You can follow a simple, step-by-step system to become the calm, confident, and happy person you deserve to be. visit thejoywithin.org to get started today. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you love, because I think we can all use a little more joy in our crazy modern world.